This year, let's Chevy Chase light up your holidays. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
That thing had 9 lives. She just spent them all.
You woo, crack up.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. Welcome to my classic Christmas film review for National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. An absolute Christmas classic that is directed by Jeremiah S. Chechnik, and it stars Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Juliette Lewis, Johnny Galecki and Randy Quaid. Now, this was the third in a 4-film Griswold franchise, I suppose you could say. And it follows Chevy Chase's Griswold family as Clark, played by Chevy Chase, is determined to have an old-fashioned family Christmas. And as we know with Clark, he gets a little bit obsessed with these things, as we've seen previously in films. He sets these perfect expectations that nobody can aspire to, and he does it again. Right from going to get the family Christmas tree to inviting literally every relative known to man to the house, hoping everything will go perfect. And with this being the Griswolds, things absolutely don't go according to plan. Right. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, then. For me, this is right up there with my favourite Christmas films, if not my favourite Christmas film. I watch it every year without fail around Christmas time with my family. We absolutely love it. It is so funny, but it's also a brilliant Christmas film at the same time. Now, it helps, obviously, certainly for me, that Chevy Chase is one of my favourite comedians, favourite comedy actors of all time, should I say. I just thought he was absolutely flawless in the 80s in particular. And I generally enjoyed everything he did in that period in his career. And I just thought Chevy Chase was just absolutely brilliant. It's a shame he couldn't continue his success beyond, certainly into the 90s and beyond. I know he did get a little bit more success in that sitcom Community and things like that. But yeah, I just thought Chevy Chase was absolutely brilliant. And I think my favourite films of his, arguably my favourite film of Chevy Chase is Fletch, but my favourite films, if you like, are the National Lampoon's films. I just thought the Clark Griswold character was just so funny, and Chevy Chase played him absolutely to perfection, and it's no exception here. Beverly D'Angelo and Chevy Chase have got just incredible chemistry together. They've always worked well together. You absolutely believe them as a married couple. Wonderful chemistry between the two of them, and it's on display here as usual. And then we get at this point anyway, it almost became a joke at this point that every time there was a new National Lampoon's film, there was like a different set of kids playing their children, and it almost became, I mean, in those days they weren't there around them, but almost becomes a meme, if you like. And we get Juliette Lewis and Johnny Galecki playing his kids in this one, but it fits right into the theme of the movies, the National Lampoon movies, and you don't blink an eyelid. And arguably, the guy who almost steals this film from under Chevy Chase is Randy Quaid as Cousin Eddie, who is hilarious. He's just so great as his character. His Cousin Eddie. Everybody's got that relative out there that they don't want around, they don't want them at parties, they don't want them at celebrations for whatever reason. And Cousin Eddie is that relative. Chevy Chase can't stand him, but he just can't get the hint, Cousin Eddie, from emptying his RV's shitter, as he calls it. Shitter is when his shit is full. He's putting it down in the sewer, to literally, every aspect of his life, trampling all over. But he's actually got a heart of gold as Cousin Eddie. But he's just very, very frustrating to the Clark Griswold character. I just think this has got so many classic Christmas moments in it. So many standout, funny moments in it. But what I think makes this film work above all else is the fact that it's got such a big heart at the centre of it. I think it just works so well as a Christmas film because of that. Because it's not mean-spirited. The Clark Griswold character, I think the reason why it works so well is he's not mean-spirited. He's just well-intentioned. He just can't get anything right. But he has absolutely got a heart of gold, and he adores his family, and that's what makes him and these films, and this film in particular, so appealing. It's just a brilliant, brilliant character. Now, interestingly, a few tidbits here. The scene when he's outside kicking and punching the Christmas decorations. Apparently, Chevy Chase, when he was doing that, he initially was supposed to like grab them and pull them and punch them, and he broke his finger. So he switched, very swiftly to start kicking them, booting them, and then they left it in the film. Interestingly as well, the houses used in this film were the same houses that you see used in the Lethal Weapon films, certainly the first couple anyway. Because they were filmed on like a Warner Brothers backlot, and so they were used in quite a few films, but probably most famously the Lethal Weapon films. The rant at the end of the film, which I think is an absolute highlight with Clark. Usually in these films, when Clark's had enough, he kind of erupts. I think we've had him in every single of one of these National Lampoon films that he was in, Chevy Chase. You get an eruption from him, and it's absolutely fantastic in this film. When he finds out that he's not got the Christmas bonus from his boss, and he has like a real rant at the end. Apparently that was ad-libbed, and the only thing that wasn't ad-libbed about it is there was some people behind the camera with like a note written on them or something hanging around the neck. Not a note, but like a word for him to try and fit in to the ad-libbed speech that he was going to do. So he'd kind of look round, he'd see a word, and then boom, he'd add it in there. Which, again, just is testament to how skilled Chevy Chase was as a comedian to do that on the fly, because it's absolutely brilliant. The film was written by John Hughes, the legendary John Hughes, and it was based on a story that he wrote for the National Lampoon's magazine years previously called Christmas 59. I think it was based on some of his childhood experiences at Christmas. And interestingly as well, Chris Columbus, who obviously went on to do Home Alone and things like that, he initially was hired to direct this film, but he did not get on with Chevy Chase, because Chevy Chase is quite notorious for not getting on with directors. He's quite, I don't know what the right word would be. Quite particular, I suppose. I don't know. But they didn't get on anyway, so he left the project quite early, and then John Hughes then offered him Home Alone. Which obviously turned out quite well for Chris Columbus, for certainly. But yeah, that was interesting as well. So for me, it's an absolute Christmas classic. It's probably my favourite National Lampoon's film, the Griswold 4-film series of films. But I think they're all pretty good in some aspect. But I think as a classic Christmas film, this one absolutely stands out. I think most people would have it in their top 10 favourite Christmas films of all time, because it's heartwarming, it's got a great Christmas message in there, but it's absolutely hilarious at the same time. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed my review for National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I will, of course, be back with loads more content, Christmas reviews, all that kind of stuff on the channel very, very soon.